This is Writers Not Writing, the show where you can get to know your favorite writers and soon-to-be favorite writers by listening to them confess to the ways they procrastinate. Thanks for procrastinating with us. I'm Benjamin Gorman, and the quiet guy behind the glass there is Doug the producer. I write novels and collections of poetry and stuff. Doug tries his best to make me sound better. From NotAPipePublishing, welcome to Writers Not Writing.
If I take my time.
Hail and well met, readers and reviewers. Today we have a special episode with 4 of the authors from the forthcoming anthology, The Magic We Miss. I am excited to introduce Laura Stanfill. Laura is the publisher at Forest Avenue Press and the author of Singing Lessons for the Stylish Canary. Her book for writers, Imagine a Door, is forthcoming in April 2025. She lives in Portland, Oregon. Laura, thank you for being here today. And we have Nancy Townsley. Nancy's a former journalist. She lives in a floating home along the Multnomah Channel near Portland with her husband and their big dog, Bernie. Her debut novel, Sunshine Girl, was inspired by her long career in newspapers. It's due out from Heliotrope Books of New York in April 2025. Welcome, Nancy. Glad to have you here. And then we also have Jess Graff. And Jess is an artist, writer, and educator who has participated in numerous gallery shows, publications, and residency programs at schools, art centers, and museums across the country. Jess currently teaches ceramics at Pacific University, contracts with libraries across Oregon and Washington, and teaches K-12 art classes at numerous schools through contracts with the Right Brain Initiative and Arts for Learning Northwest. Jess is also an active member of the Oregon Potters Association and has authored numerous articles on the topics of art, education, collaboration, and the power of play. As an artist with both Western European and Lebanese heritage, Jess draws inspiration for their artwork from their personal history, the natural world, and from moments of shared creative exploration. Welcome, Jess. Glad to have you here. And Gigi Little is here. Gigi Little is in equal parts a writer and book designer. In design, she works freelance and as the staff designer for Forest Avenue Press, and she's the editor of their popular anthology, City of Weird. If you have been to a bookstore in Portland, you have seen City of Weird, and you've seen Gigi's works, because City of Weird is everywhere, thanks to Laura and Gigi's work together. A fantastic series. And Gigi is also the art director of the picture book coming in October, A Tree of My Own, published by fellow Writers Not Writing writer Francis Lupaya-Polito, who's been on the show before. Francis is amazing. And Gigi's writing can be found in journals and anthologies, including Portland Noir, Spent, and Dispatches from Anares, as well as the forthcoming anthologies Art-Born Words, and of course, the one that brings us all together, The Magic We Miss, which comes out in November. So on today's show, we're going to have a kind of a special show because we just want to take a minute to get to know these authors' procrastination habits, which is what we're always here to talk about. And then they're going to get to share a little bit about their stories for the Magic We Miss anthology so folks can get excited about this. The book comes out in print on November 30th. And then there'll be an audiobook later. So if you are into audiobooks, that will be forthcoming. But first, get your print copy on November 30th. We wanted to give you a little taste of what is in store for you when you get your hands on that. So before that, I want to help you get to know these amazing authors. So we're just going to go through and I'm going to ask you about what has been getting in your way. Laura, we'll start with you. What has been getting in the way of all of your own writing lately?
Oh my gosh, reading. I have been on such a reading kick. I have a number of manuscripts I'm working on right now, and I've also been reading novels because it's fall. It's time for novels.
Yes. Do
And
you
I just
find though the
finished.
trick is you'll read a manuscript and it's wonderful, and you'll read a novel and then you're like, I want to tell my friends about these books, plural, that I'm reading, but I can't talk about the manuscript because it's not a thing in the world yet. I run into
Exactly.
this all the time.
Exactly. I can tell you, I just finished Sonata in Wax, a published book out of from Green City Books out of Bend, and that's by Edward Hamlin, and it was wonderful if you like historical fiction. And I just started Michael Keefe's All Her Loved Ones Encoded, and that's out now from Running Wild Press. I can tell you about those too because
Yes,
they're
excellent.
actual
Yes, all
books.
the manuscripts we have to, be more tight-lipped about. But yes, oh, that's very cool. Well, thank you. Nancy, how about you? What is getting in the way of your work lately?
Gosh, so many things. Probably, I'm just so laser focused on the lead up to the release of my novel, even though it's still 7 months away. Last night I kind of had a minor freak out just thinking about all of that and not really, certain about what to do next, except for what my publisher is telling me to do. But I'm a kind of person that always likes to be 3 steps ahead of whatever I'm supposed to be doing. So that has been distracting me. And like Laura, I'm always reading something. I've been reading Miriam Gershow's book, Survival Tips, essays. That's been a lot of fun. And then I'm also occasionally trying to dip my feet back into a new writing project that I started a while back. Kind of I think that if I have a niche right now, it's about social justice issues and writing them as fictionalized pieces. So I'm writing about our broken healthcare system right now, and I've got a whole idea in my head.
Yeah.
So
Good. There's a lot of content to work with there because the system is really messed up. Like I feel like I can't get in a conversation with anybody about their interaction with our healthcare system without going, and this is why we need to socialize medicine. It is such a
yeah,
mess.
exactly. Hopefully we'll get it figured out someday.
Oh, yeah. Only I've been saying that for years and years. We're negotiating. I work with my union, teachers union, and we'll be in the middle of negotiations. And I'm like, maybe by next contract, we will have socialized medicine and these insurance issues will no longer be a problem here in this negotiation. Maybe
Right.
by the next, yeah, that hasn't happened yet. But, hope springs eternal. Well, I wish you luck on that. Please succeed in motivating people to correct our, our broken healthcare system.
My best. Thank you.
So, Jess, how about you? What's been getting in the way of your writing? Because you are doing a lot of different kinds of work.
Yes, yeah, I'm always one of those people that's on the go. So always a million projects. And writing is one of the pieces of my creative puzzle. But right now I've been doing a lot of ceramic work actually. I'm getting ready for several shows. I'm getting ready for the Oregon Potters Association Fall Fest, which is the first weekend of October. And I'm getting ready for the Oregon Potters Association Holiday Market, which is the weekend following November, and that's the Portland Nursery. And then I'm also getting ready for Ceramics Northwest, which is a big gallery space at the Pioneer Place Mall. So I'm getting pieces ready for 3 different projects and also teaching college and elementary school simultaneously.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Well, I love talking to artists. So I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit.
sure.
But this is perfect because for the sake of our podcast listeners, they wouldn't be able to see it anyway. Is there anything, can you describe what you're doing with your ceramics lately? Any new kinds of media? What would they be seeing if they were seeing your ceramics?
Sure. So I make a lot of small sea creatures. I also make a lot of small functional items. I focus on super tiny giftable objects for most of those shows. So things like tiny dishes in the shape of strawberries, little air plant hangers, and lots of things like ornaments and gifts for the holiday season as well.
Oh, that's so cool. Excellent. And Gigi, how about you? What's been pulling you away from one of your various jobs, being a writer? You've got a lot going on as well.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, my bio, I'm sort of equal parts writing and designing. So it's the designing. Like I, I liked, we're talking about procrastination, and I feel like I'm sort of the opposite from writers who, there's a meme that I keep seeing going around um, where it's like, I have a new business. It's I'm a writer. You you hire me to be a writer and I will clean your house. Like I will clean your whole house because I don't want to do the writing, right? Everybody is talking about how they clean their whole house or they do all these chores in order to not do the writing. I'm just the opposite of that. I would procrastinate everything. My house would be a shambles. I would just write nonstop, you know. And so the only thing that kind of does that I do procrastinate with writing with is the design work that I do, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. Which
Which
I
is
think, I
great
mean,
because
I hope folks hearing this are hearing, authors often the other creative outlet is also art, and it's a way for us to they inform one another, and so, your design work is not completely disassociated from the writing life. It is working with these authors' works and trying to bring them to life. Folks, full disclosure, Gigi has helped us with covers with NotAPipePublishing and does beautiful work. And being able to bring these stories to life on a cover. A cover is a kind of artistic summary of the entire book so that somebody can look at that cover and say, I have a sense of what I'm getting into. And so it's not, it's not just a photograph. This is a catching a tone, and it's all that work, and that's got to inform your writing as well.
it does. And it feels special because on the one hand, when I'm working on my own writing, that is my own little thing that I'm making. And then when I'm working on a design, I get to do my art for somebody else.
Yeah.
And that's extra special, really, for me.
Yeah. Well, and
In fact,
we
I could
have all
say,
now. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say that I recently did the cover to Nancy Townsley's book, which I love,
Oh,
and I love her as a writer and as a human. And so it's such a personal thing to me to be able to sort of give a piece of, I don't know, a piece of my art to their
mhm.
art. So
Yes, absolutely. And I'm sure you all had this experience, both with the covers of our own books, but also, in this anthology, we just got to see the artwork that Brian created for our own stories. There are illustrations for each story. And much like getting a cover from Gigi and going, oh my gosh, I'm seeing this book come to life, getting to see those pieces from Brian made me so ridiculously happy. Like, and it's something that I don't know that we can even effectively convey to non-writers. Like, this is, I was just nuts for this picture that he drew of, because now I'm seeing my characters. What he did for mine was they take a selfie. And so it was like, oh, my characters are now come to life as here is the selfie they would take. And I absolutely love it. So yeah, and thank you for your work for authors. Like, that is really cool. The experience you had when you got to see Brian's work is what we get to have when we see your work. And it's really fun. So, um, that is great. So, um, in addition to this anthology, what is something else that you've got looking forward to in your writing career that's coming up that people should kind of keep an ear out for? Let's see, Nancy, let's start with you. What should they? Well, we know you got something big coming up.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I guess my debut novel, Sunshine Girl is the title of it. My publisher and I went kind of back and forth about that because we didn't want it to sound just like a, summer beach read, but there are themes in the book that pick up on Sunshine Girl.
Yeah.
And you just have to read it to know. But I'm looking forward to organizing a little book tour. I've actually never been to New York City, which is where my publisher is located. So I'll be going to New York City. I feel a little bit like, you remember the show That Girl, where she twirled around and threw her beanie up and all that. So that'll be a lot of fun. That's kind of my major focus right now, in terms of my writing life. I'm also writing essays. I'm looking for news pegs that I can tap to publicize the book a little bit. I just did one for Newsweek about the 23rd anniversary of 9/11, and that was pretty cool to look back on where I was and what I was doing that day, just like we all kind of had that moment that just stopped in time. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
No, that's cool. Jess, how about you? What's coming up for you?
Yeah, so I am again working on a lot of different things simultaneously. I've got two collections of poems that I'm working on right now, and also a cozy murder mystery that's set in a small coastal Washington town. The compilation of poetry. One is called ABCs and Other Letters to Love's Lost and Found, working title at the moment. And it's sort of essentially a collection of poems celebrating and lamenting love in all its many forms. I'm still working on the other title for the other collection, but it's also a celebration of the Pacific Northwest.
That's
Keeping
very
it in
cool.
the
We've got
themes.
the Oregon Poetry Association conference is coming up, and I'm very excited to get to go hang with all those poets and get to celebrate their work. I don't know if are you going to be able to make that one?
I don't think so, but I
Because
wish I
you've
was. It
got five
sounds super
jobs
cool.
going on at the same time. It doesn't
Yep,
offer a lot
exactly.
of freedom in your schedule, but
Hmm.
yeah, that's I admire that. I will keep an eye out for that book, although it's a working title, so we'll have to
It
see.
is. Yes. I'll let you
The
know if it
titles of mine
changes.
have changed in process as well, but yeah, that's something I admire. Gigi, how about you? What's coming up for you?
So the question is about writing, right? Because I started
Well, or
thinking about all
in your
like
overall career, what should folks be looking out for?
well, I mean, so if I started with non-writing stuff and I've already mentioned Nancy's book, the cover. I also did the some interior design work for Laura Stanfill's probably answer to this question, which maybe I shouldn't be jumping in on. Um, uh, but yes, I'm not going to mention what it is, but she will take that over. But we sort of work together because we worked together with on Forest Avenue Press on the in Forest Avenue Press. So I am talking all over this trying to answer this question without saying anything. So I'll move on. So writing wise, I this isn't quite writing wise, but I am the art director for a picture book that's coming out soon called A Tree of My Own, which is being published by Keelan Press, which is headed up by Frances Lupai, who is, again, we spoke about her before. She is also in The Magic We Miss. And um, it's not writing per se, but I was sort of taking the information from the writer and the illustrator and putting it together and sort of making the book look the best it could look. And that's kind of a bit of writing. It feels very much like writing to me, so I'm going to include that as the writing in the writing column. And then I've been writing a novel, and I'm working on a picture book of my own, and so as always, working on a million things at
A
once.
million things at the same time. Oh, that's excellent.
Yeah.
And Laura, how about you?
Well, Gigi, thank you for the introduction, but I have this book. Oh, it's not gonna come up because I have my blur on, but I have a book called Imagine a Door coming out in April, and I wrote it and I started doing the work in 2016. So it's pretty exciting. I unboxed, rather terribly unboxed my my first copies of the advanced reader copy about an hour ago. So
And is this literary fic?
yep.
Yeah.
No, oh no, no, I'm sorry. I was just believing you, Ben. No,
Yeah,
this
yeah.
is
Just,
for
it sounded
writers.
with great confidence.
Yeah, I was like, oh yes, of course it is. Nah, no. It's the subtitle is A Writer's Guide to Unlocking Your Story, Choosing
Oh,
a
yes.
Publishing Path, and Honoring the Creative Journey. So this is the book for writers about writing and publishing, centered on the experience of being a writer in the world and how hard that can be.
Yeah. Oh, I will devour that. Yeah, that's gonna be. I mean, I think all of us are going. Yes, we need that book. It's excellent. Well, thank you. When does that one come out?
April 1st.
Oh, okay. Okay,
And
that's
I've
exciting.
quoted 75 authors, agents, publishers, editors. So a lot of wisdom is in there, and my voice kind of holds it together. So,
Yeah. Oh, that's exciting. Yeah. Okay. I will absolutely be checking that out.
Mhm.
So, the next question for all of you, we're on episode 97 of this show, very close to episode 100. And my understanding, and I could be wrong about this, is when you hit 100, all the big corporations suddenly realize this is a very established show, and they just start throwing bags of money at me and saying, you need to advertise, my product to your enormous established audience. And so I need to be prepared for that. And I want to be a discerning, host and not just accept money from anybody. So I want your wisdom. If somebody were throwing bags of money at you and saying, please, slap our brand on your shoulder as you're writing your next novel, what would be the product that would be the most appropriate advertisement for your work? So let's start with Jess. What do you think?
Yeah, so I always have multiple beverages happening at once. So probably I would be sponsored by like a coffee or tea brand, maybe like Avalanche, which is like a New Zealand-based coffee company. And I love their cappuccinos and their flat whites particularly. Or for tea, I've been enjoying Smith tea and anything from Oregon Coffee and Tea recently too. So
Excellent. Okay, and so what we'll do is we'll put your contact info in the show notes, and fans can, follow your work, but Avalanche can reach out and throw money at you. That's going to be
great. Yeah.
the
And
plan.
anyone can send me tea or coffee, and that's
Yes,
great too.
exactly. Yes. Samples.
You're right.
Uh,
Yes.
Gigi, how about you? What would be your branding?
This is a hard question. I'm trying so hard to figure. So the only thing I can think of, which is not a corporation, and I'm sure does not have money to throw at me, but which I feel is a sweet connection, I guess, is so the novel I'm working on has a lot to do with old time radio, which I'm obsessed with. And so I'm going to say a podcast, which I listen to religiously, which I love, which is called The Great Detectives of Old Time Radio. Which because my book is also detective radio related. Anyway, I love that. I'm obsessed with them, and I would love to have their logo on my costume as I run into the sports
I
thing. I
think
don't
it's
know.
possible you could do cross promotion. So,
Yeah.
they throw money at you. You've now advertised for them. I think this is doable. We can make this happen. Laura, how about you? What would be your brand support?
Well, I have a pretty wholesome and old-fashioned brand, both in my writing and in my real life. That's just how I roll. So I would pick Rancho Gordo Beans, the bean company, because they're fabulous and they have great logos on their bean products. And also, if you're a member of the Bean Club, like I am, you get paper that has the Rancho Gordo Beans kind of crest on it. And so I really like the crest.
They
I
have to
really like.
support you. I mean, we need to make this happen. You are a member of the club. The perfect spokesperson. Yes, Rancho Gordo Beans, we will be in touch. Nancy, how about you?
Sorry, that just cracked me up, Laura. I love that. And I was just thinking as you were talking about, the logo and all that um, a certain someone has decided to come up with some more commemorative coins. Maybe you guys know who I'm
Oh
talking about.
gosh. Are they
And
real coins or are they digital coins?
I
You're
think these
getting
are
nothing.
real, actually. They're like $100, But for me, being a debut author of a certain age, I just can't help but think about Oldster Magazine, which is basically a Substack run by this really quirky and wonderful New York author, Sari Botten, who I have not met yet in person, but I'm hoping to, because I could see her getting into the story that I'm putting out there with all its family drama and newsroom revelation. She's a former journalist, and her mantra is that everyone is aging all the time, no matter how old they are, and we should share our lives for a richer collective experience. And I really subscribe to that. I think it's great. I've loved reading all kinds of interviews on Oldster. It was a Substack featured publication this year. So it's pretty cool. And I think Oldster would be my jam.
Oh, I love it. Yes, we'll get the Substack to yes, to support the author, and then, again, that cross promotion. You've publicized them. That's now, that's
There you go.
deserved. Special announcement time. NotAPipe Publishing has always been committed to helping authors and readers find one another. Well, the show, which is all about helping readers get to know writers, just hit a milestone. 10,000 views on YouTube. So to celebrate, instead of charging authors to advertise their books on the show, I'm going to run your ads for free throughout 2024. If you want to make a 30 to 60 second video about your book, let folks know what it's about and where to find it, and don't forget your name and the title. I'll run one or two of those in our ad spot each week. Just send an MP4 file to the NotAPipe email address in the show notes. Let's fix up some readers and authors into reader relationships. 2024. More readers, more writers, more books.
You deserve a vacation.
How about a trip to a dude ranch on a colony planet?
Or a journey to a universe where wizards call lightning down from the sky and calm rumbling volcanoes?
Or a holiday tour of the major cities of Europe with vampires and werewolves and witches as guides.
Or maybe just a nice hot sudsy bath with a book of poetry that will make you cry and sigh and laugh.
We've got you covered.
A paperback will appear on your doorstep each month to whisk you away, and you'll return refreshed, enlightened, and ready to make the world we share a brighter place for everyone.
Or if you prefer, you can sign up for a quarterly subscription and get 4 YA titles, 4 adult titles, or 4 collections of poetry per year.
Plus, you'll get book club questions from the author before you start the book and an interview with the author afterwards.
So, if you are in a book group or want to start one, this is everything you need in a kit. Will we occasionally throw in some extra surprises just to say thank you to our members? Of course.
You can also give someone their very own membership with all of the rights and privileges pertaining thereto.
So, find a reward level that's right for you.
And share this with your friends.
Join the Indulge Your Shelf book club today. Your bookshelves deserve a little pampering.
Hi, I'm children's author Sarah Geddes. I'd love for you to check out my book, Henry the Sneezing Dragon. It's about a clumsy dragon in search of friendship. My book, To the Moon, a Jacob and Trevor adventure, will be released September 2024, a story about 2 little boys who use fairy dust to travel to the moon. And in fall 2024, The Water Bear Astronaut, about a tardigrade who travels to space, will also be coming out. All books will be available on Amazon.
I'm Mary Kendall. I'm a fiction writer. I write stories that are weird, odd, gothic-y, a little bit left off center. What is this? This is my latest release, Bottled Secrets of Rosewood. It's billed as a contemporary gothic thriller, and it's being touted as a page-turner by people that are reading it. It was inspired by a real-life find, a blue bottle that was uncovered in an archaeology dig outside of Williamsburg, Virginia. The bottle was discovered to be a witch bottle. Witch bottles were a thing back in the day. They were filled with items such as thorns, clippings, glass chips to draw out evil intent from the person holding the bottle. Sound interesting? You can find out more at my website, marykendallauthor.com, or if you'd like to buy the book, it's available where all books are sold.
So let's get to our samples from the magic we miss. So Laura, do you want to start us off and tell us about your story or share some of your story of The Problem with Being Good?
Back to that wholesome brand of mine.
Exactly.
I'll just read the opening if that's all right.
Sure.
All right. And you'll see what I mean by wholesome. And it's called The Problem with Being Good. Molly Marie listened to her parents and her teacher. She wore thrifted blouses and skirts to school with shorts underneath. She even brushed her hair once a week. Don't chew with your mouth open, her mother said one spring morning at the breakfast table, and so Molly Marie stopped chewing. She picked up her bowl, opened her mouth, and let the cereal slide down her throat, each crispy particle carried on a cool tide of oat milk. Her mother smiled in approval. Much better, she said. I appreciate when you listen to me. Molly Marie decided never to bite her food again, only to let it slide into her belly, because if she didn't chew, she wouldn't accidentally open her mouth, and also she would never be admonished for chewing carrot sticks or ginger snaps too loudly. Perhaps the dentist would approve of her not using her teeth, and maybe they would last longer. Molly Marie's mother was always telling her to take care of her smile and to double check that her shoes were tied. She was a very good mother because she knew all of these things and wanted her oldest child to know them too. That's my excerpt.
Oh, that's so great. Oh, I love it. Excellent. So, if you, like me, are going, okay, I need to hear the rest of this, Magic We Miss, coming November 30th. Nancy, how about you? Your story, The Ogre, the Boy, and the Forest.
Right. And full disclosure, it kind of was serendipitous that I got involved with this project at Brian and Josie's invitation, because my stepson was getting married up in Washington and they wanted to do a talent show on Friday night. And of course, we all felt a little bit of pressure to be involved in that. And, what kind of talent could I give? Well, I can make up a story. And so I wanted to make up a story that, I could invite all these small children that attended the wedding to kind of come by the campfire and sit down and listen to my story. So my excerpt, like Laura's, is just from the beginning of the story. So The Ogre, the Boy, and the Forest. It was time for Silence the Ogre to wake up. She had been hibernating for far too long. She'd gone to bed in December, and now it was practically May. She rolled over, stretched, slipped out from under her blanket of dead leaves and wet grass, and sat up. She stretched her long, sinewy arms and blinked a few times before returning to full consciousness. Silence was ready to see spring. Winter in Portland had been especially severe, frigid, with an unusual number of snowstorms and flakes that stuck. For an entire week in January, ice covered the streets from northwest to southeast, making it impossible for people to get around. The trains didn't run. Folks couldn't get to work. Industry faltered. Only the bookstores and coffee shops stayed open. No one knew how, but they did. Maybe it was magic. All that time, Silence had been blissfully asleep, her liminal dreams hinting at better days ahead, far from riots and pandemics and confusion and upheaval. After she ambled down from the forest, leaving her pine needle bed behind, she saw the newspapers. If not for them, what had transpired over the past 5 months might have remained a mystery. Silence was eager to get caught up. Disillusionment, shouted a bold-faced front-page headline. Despair, screamed another. Depression, bleated a third, less sensational to Silence's mind, but still quite troubling. What in the world had happened to her beloved Rose City? That's the beginning before Silence meets the boy.
Excellent. Yes. So fantastic. Looking forward to that one. Jess, you're up next with The Bringers of Dreams.
All right. I'm also going to read a short excerpt from mine. But the night I've found is beautiful. The night sparkles and dances, a million pinpricks of light twinkling from windows and the sky. The night sighs and sings, cars on the highway whirring in the distance, music floating through the air from bars and open windows. The night I see is achingly full and blissfully empty all in one. And if you never walk when the darkness falls silky across these quiet streets, you'll never see the bringers of dreams. If you want to find them, these bringers of dreams, go when the skies are clear and the air is as cold and sharp as needles. Your cheeks and nose will sting with chill, and you'll flex your fingers out and in, open and closed to keep the chill at bay. You'll hear the gentle swish of your clothing as you walk quicker in the dark. Or go when the air is hot and heavy, a blanket clinging to the darkened city. Your skin will dampen from the heat of it, and any hair you have and all your clothes will stick wetly to your skin. The journey may feel longer, but you can hear the lilting music from summer concerts in the park and taste the cooling things made just the way you like that you have drunk. Either way, in cold or heat, when you have walked along sidewalks broken and whole, besides buildings made of brick and concrete. And when you have walked where the trees rise up and you are weary, then you will hear them call. They'll whisper to each other. They'll laugh and gossip about the things that they have seen and done in their daily wanderings. They see all corners of the city, these dream makers, and they remember all. I'll stop there.
I am very excited for the rest of that one. Excellent. Gigi, you're up next with The Bridge Walk.
Thank you. Yes. And I just want to say how lovely all of these excerpts are that we're hearing. Yeah, I'm going to do the same thing and just read from the beginning. The Burnside Bridge just would not stay put, even though staying put is what bridges are good at. Late at night, when no cars were driving around on him, when no one was walking or biking on him, the bridge would leave his post on the Willamette River and go trekking around the city. He didn't stay out long. After all, there are always people wanting to cross bridges. He just took 1 short hour each night, which was 1 hour too many, according to the other bridges in town. It gave him a reputation for being kind of a flake, but he didn't mind. No one but the bridges knew about his nightly jaunts. He visited the Portland Rose Garden and smelled the roses. He visited Mount Tabor, which is a volcano in the city, and he was so excited that when he returned to his post, he stationed himself backwards by mistake. Luckily, the Burnside Bridge is pretty symmetrical, so no one noticed. He visited Powell's City of Books, but he was way too big to fit through the door, and the place was closed at that time of night anyway. So instead, he read the billboards on the street. They weren't as interesting. On Monday night, or rather Tuesday morning at 2 o'clock, the start of his favorite hour, the Burnside Bridge was waiting for a lone car to clear his deck when a small voice came to him. So, where are you going tonight? Startled, because usually he was so good about making sure he was alone before heading off on a walk, the Bridge looked around. A tiny figure, a girl, stood on top of him at the railing, in the dim gold street lamp glow. I know you roam around at night, she said. I know everything about all the bridges in town. She had a red coat over what looked like striped pajamas, and her hair was smushed under a blue knit beanie like she'd been in bed and had decided suddenly to leave the house in the middle of the night. Was she 11, 12? It's hard for bridges to tell people's ages. She leaned back against the railing, casual, like talking to a bridge at 2 in the morning was nothing out of the ordinary. How did you know I roam? He asked. It's not like I tell people. She pointed her chin to a house just off the bridge by a block or two. I live over there. I can see you from my bedroom window. Lots of times this late, I look out and you're gone. Behind her, moonlight glittered on the water, and the lights of the city studded the dark. This is late for a kid to be up looking out a window, the bridge said, or standing alone on a bridge, for that matter. I always wake up in the middle of the night, she said. Do you really know everything about all the bridges in town? He asked. The girl pointed at the next bridge in the line of bridges across the wide river. His structure didn't contain any fancy arches or suspender cables, but the concrete of its piers, the 2 thickest columns that extended down into the water, were decorated with colored lights. Tonight, those lights were a deep pink. That's the Morrison Bridge, she said. It was built in 1958. At 36 feet tall, it's the largest mechanical device in the whole state. That's right, called the Morrison Bridge, listening in. The bridge after that, the girl said, is the Hawthorne Bridge. Built in 1910, it's the oldest vertical lift bridge still in operation in America. Amazing, called the Morrison Bridge. And you, the girl said to the Burnside Bridge, were built in 1926. You're a Strauss-type double-leaf bascule bridge 2,241 feet long. I'll take your word for it, he said. You have 2 Italian Renaissance-style towers, she said. Those come in handy, he said, for storing the orange traffic cones I like to put out at the water's edge to keep cars from, falling into the water whenever I take a walk. Hey, kid, the Morrison Bridge raised her voice out over the water to them again. Maybe you can talk some sense into this guy, stop him from gallivanting around every night. I just want to have fun, the Burnside Bridge said. I just want to see my city. That's not true, Bernie, the Morrison Bridge called. You're really looking for that other bridge. The Burnside Bridge was quiet a moment. Then, okay, fine, whatever. I'm looking for that other bridge. What bridge? The girl asked. The bulbs in his tall street lamps glowed brighter. Prettiest bridge you've ever seen. Seriously, you wouldn't believe how pretty. I've seen them around, and I think they're just, well, I'm not sure of their pronouns, so I use they, them. The bridge's pronouns? The girl asked. The Morrison Bridge sang out, he thinks he's in love. The Burnside Bridge made an exaggerated shrug of his handrails. All right, what's wrong with that? Bernie, the Morrison Bridge said, you haven't even met them. You've just seen them from afar. Well, that's what I'm trying to do, he said. Meet them, get to know them. I'll help you find them, the girl said. The Burnside Bridge blinked his street lamps at her. You will? I know everything about all the bridges in town, she said. In fact, I bet I know which one you're talking about. It's the prettiest Portland bridge, in my opinion. I'll take you there. Oh, great, the Morrison Bridge rolled her eyes, or would have, if she had eyes. Wow, thank you, the Burnside Bridge said. Gosh, I haven't even asked your name. The girl put her hand out as if to shake, but then just patted the surface of the bridge's railing. I'm Eddie. I'll stop there.
I love that so much. If I could describe the ideal tone in what I like to read, it would be the sentence, even though standing still is what bridges are supposed to be good at. That is so wonderful. I love that. That's excellent.
Thank you.
Well, I've got to thank some folks before we finish off and give everybody our advice for the week as they enter into their week. But before that, thanks to the artist Max Oakland, who reached out and provided one of his songs for our intro song, I Prefer the Dusk. Let Max know you like it by following him on Twitter at Max Oakland with 3 Ds. And thanks to Halisna CCO for their song Kids for the ad break. If you're in a band and you'd like your song used on the show, I'd love to highlight a listener's work like Max's song, so email me about that. Thanks to Doug, the producer, for making this show sound good and taking the blame when it doesn't. And I cannot forget to mention Writers Not Writing is a production of NotAPipePublishing. So please go to NotAPipePublishing and support those authors who didn't procrastinate too much. If you like this show, rate and review it wherever you found it. And please check out Laura Stanfill's Singing Lessons for the Stylish Canary, Nancy Townsley's Sunshine Girl, Jess Graff's Ceramic Works at Ceramics Northwest at the Pioneer Place Mall this holiday season, and Gigi Little's art direction in the picture book A Tree of My Own and her design work for Nancy Townsley's Sunshine Girl and Laura Stanfill's Imagine a Door, which will be out in April. And tell your friends about them too. Even a very short review and a single click on a 5th star makes a huge difference to authors. So go click on that 5th star, write just a few sentences about what it meant to you, and you will make that author so happy. And I am too old to tell you to smash that like button, but if you could gently tap on the like button for this show an odd number of times, I would really appreciate that as well. So that brings us to our send-off. Gigi and Jess and Nancy and Laura, I want you to we want you all to remember 5 things this week. So what is your advice for our listeners? Gigi, how about you? We'll start with you. What's your advice for everybody?
Remember to give as much love and time as you can to the animals in your life.
Yeah. And Jess, how about you?
I'd say you don't have to do everything. Do drink water.
Excellent advice. Nancy, how about you?
Just find the good and hold on to it.
And Laura, what's your advice for everyone?
Support your local independent bookstore.
Yes. And lastly, no matter how much you procrastinate, we're all still proud of you.
If I take my time